الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيامة يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. يا غريب كربلاء رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا وفي القبر وفي الآخرة. أما بعد، respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight, we are going to be examining a very, very important hadith. This hadith comes to us from Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a request, brothers and sisters, to please put your phones on silent. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is found in Usul al-Kafi, Juz al-Thani, the second volume. And this is found in the book of Iman wal Kufr. And so this can already start to tell you how important the following hadith will be if it is found in a book that Sheikh Al-Kulaini decided to name Kitab al-Iman wal Kufr. And then we see that this is in the chapter Bab Haqqul Mu'min ala Akhihi wa Ada'i Haqqih. This is underneath the chapter of those rights that are due from one to another of their Muslim or Mu'min believing brothers. And so we see that anhu an Ali ibn al-Hakam an Abdullah ibn Bukayr al-Hajari an Mu'alla ibn Khunais. Mu'alla ibn Khunais is the one who comes to Abi Abdullah al-Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. قال قلت له ما حق المسلم على مسلم. What are the rights that a Muslim has to give to a fellow Muslim? And what Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam is about to say will tell you everything you need to know about why it's so important that we need to analyze this hadith, that we need to know what this is, and we need to implement this in our daily lives. What does Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam say? He says, قَالَ لَهُ سَبْعَ حُقُوقٍ. There are 7 rights. واجبات. They are wajib. Meaning any one of these, if they are missing, then you have something that is taqsir on your part. There is something that is missing on your part. ما منهن حق إلا وهو عليه واجب إن ضيع منها شيئا خرج من ولاية الله. If someone is missing even one of these seven towards his fellow Muslim brother, not mu'min brother, Muslim brother. If he is missing even one, what does he say? What is the exact wording of the hadith from Usul al-Kafi? From Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, خرج من ولاية الله وطاعته ولم يكن لله فيه من نصيب. It says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take him out of his wilayah, number one. Number two, he will take him out of the capability to obey him, ita'ah. And what does he say? He says he does not have any right to ask Allah for even a portion from the akhirah. This is some phrasing that comes in the Quran. مَا لَهُ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ مَا لَهُ مِنْ نَصِيبٍ, right? Min nasib over here doesn't mean that they won't get an akhirah. We do not believe, like how certain religions, like Hindus do, like how some others do, that there is selective. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We do not believe that there is, like the Hindu believes, a selective resurrection. We believe that everybody is coming back on Yawm al-Qiyamah, that everybody will be sorted into one of three major categorizations. Either they go to Jannah, or they go to Jahannam, or what's the third place? Well, Barzakh is before Jannah and Jahannam. Barzakh is before even Qiyamah. Once Qiyamah is done, there are three places to go, brothers and sisters. Jannah, Jahannam, and where? This third place is called the A'raf. How many of you have heard of Surah Al-A'raf? The 7th chapter of the Quran. This is what it's named after. There are some people who go to this middle place called the A'raf. A quick note, probably, because I see some looks of confusion. What is this A'raf? I've never heard of this before. The A'raf is something that Surah Al-Hadid explains to us, that there are two sides. One is the side that is closer to Rahmah. That there are breezes of Rahmah that the people on this side of the A'raf will feel. And on this side, because there is a wall constructed in the very middle, on one side of the wall, you are exposed to the breezes of Jannah. Whenever the gates of Jannah open and close, the breezes come, and the people who are outside over here in the A'raf, they feel some of that Rahmah. On the other side, what does Surah Al-Hadid say? It says the other side will be feeling the breezes of what? Adab, of torture. Meaning whenever the gates of hell are swinging open and closed, there are some breezes that come out, and these people will be feeling those breezes. Now, this is not exactly Jannah, this is not exactly hell. Because these people on this side over here, what I've been saying with this hand all along, people who are on this side closer to Jannah, they are good but not good enough to get into Jannah. And these people over here are bad but not bad enough to go to Jahannam. And so they are over here in the A'raf, and this is where they will stay. And there's also a door that is only able to be opened by the side of the people on Jannah. This is what Surah Al-Hadid tells me. Okay, I'm not telling you, it's there in the Quran. Now what's interesting is that while people can get out of Jahannam, that's the only place which seems to be temporary. There are people who go there permanently to hell, and there are people who go there temporarily. But the people who go there temporarily will eventually come out, and they will be put in the A'raf. But the people of the A'raf, the people who came from Jahannam going to the A'raf, it doesn't seem that there is any more upward mobility for them, and they do not get to go into paradise. Because otherwise, if there's always this flow, and then people will eventually not even be in the A'raf, nobody will be in hell except for the worst of the worst, then doesn't that mean that it would only be just for Allah to go and keep on elevating everybody in Jannah? What's the point then of putting someone in first level? What's the point of second level, third level, fourth level? Everybody eventually within 1 billion years or so will end up in the 7th level anyway, whether you're at the bottom of hell or in level 6 or 7. Then what's the point? No. Your actions have consequences, and that consequence, brothers and sisters, one of those consequences terrifies me. That even after everything that I do, what if I'm just someone who ends up in level 5 of Jannah and not in Jannah al-Firdaus with Muhammad and Al Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because once I breathe my last over here, what more is there for me to do? Like I said yesterday, or one of the nights before from Amir al-Mu'mineen, this life is the life of action and no reward. That life is where you get reward and there is no more action. And so truly, all of us need to compete against one another. Have friendly competitions. That if I'm donating this much, and nobody told me go and make this about donations, but I know how many people need to hear it, how many people over here in person need to hear it. That our centers need help. And this is a very good way for Allah to multiply the reward. How many of you have heard of the hadith, or not even the hadith, the ayah of the Quran, that when you plant one seed, it brings out a plant that has 7 heads, right? Each of those heads has how many grains on it, or how many seeds, to be very precise with the language of the Quran. How many seeds on each of these 7 heads? 100 seeds. Why does Allah keep on using the same exact word that He used? He says seed over here, seed over here. You planted one seed, now you have 700 seeds. Because each of these 700 seeds are supposed to be also planted. And now you have another multiplication. And then Allah says, Wallahu yudha'ifu liman yasha. Allah will go and multiply with His own numbers however much He wants. This is just basic multiplication. But that only happens when you're able to go and give freely from your heart. Again, like I said, no one asked me to come and speak a little bit about, we need some help. Inshallah, the center is doing good. But I'm telling you secrets of how you can get higher and higher in Akhirah. Now let's see what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that is not something that I can tell you easily. Because if I tell you and you know this, then this has the power to take you, if you are deficient in even one of these 7, it will take you out of the wilayah of Allah. It will be harder to obey Allah, and you should not expect anything from Him in the Akhirah. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says, Mu'alla says to Imam Sadiq, may I be sacrificed to you, what are they? He says, I am scared for you. This is a companion of an Imam. And the Imam is scared to tell him. This shows us that not every piece of advice should be given to everybody. You need to judge. Can this person handle it? Is this person not ready for it? What they're ready to go and accept, let them have it. It's okay, freely. Don't go and keep information to yourself and be bakhil with it. But if you know that they're not going to be able to understand it, why are you putting them in trouble? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, أَخَافُ أَن تُضِيعَ وَلَا تَحْفَظَ وَتَعْلَمْ وَلَا تَعْمَلْ. That you will take it, but you won't be able to bear it. You will learn it and not do it. How many of us are guilty of learning things, and then we don't go and implement things? This hadith, this majlis, is not supposed to be like that. If you are just going to be taking this knowledge and then not implementing it from the moment you step out of this majlis, the door is right there, you're welcome to leave. The X button is right there, or maybe over here on YouTube. You can close out this tab. This majlis is not for you. It's better, the Imam says, that you don't know if you're not willing to act on it. It seems that all of you want to stay. You want to know what the rights are. So I'll continue with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imam Sadiq says that the least of these is that أن تحب له ما تحب لنفسك, that you love for him what you love for yourself. What does this mean in practical terms? It means that when you see something that you want for yourself, and you know that this is a good path, you know that this is a good investment, you know that this is a good career path, you know that this is something that will bring, for example, generational wealth. This kind of investment can turn lives around. Then why don't you go and offer that to someone if you know that their situation, their family situation, is in dire need? They have just enough money where if you were to guide them, they could be set for not only this generation, but their kids. Why don't you want to help them? It doesn't cost you anything. It's not like you're losing out on it. You, mashallah, are, let's say, alhamdulillah, well set. But why don't you want to go and help your fellow Muslim? Not just your fellow mu'min, your fellow Muslim. Why don't you want to go and give that same type of advice to them? You would give it and would hope to get this type of knowledge from your fellow Muslim, but why aren't you giving it? The second example that I have for us is, if you love Imam al-Hussein, if you love Ahlul Bayt, why don't you love it for your brother? Because this is for the Muslim, not for the mu'min. Why won't you go and bring a friend of yours? Maybe a friend who is Shia, maybe a friend who isn't Shia. They don't even have to be Muslim. This part, let's go and take the example even out of Islam. Bring your Christian friends to the majlis of Abu Abdullah and see if they can't cry. See if they can't connect with Imam al-Hussein's message. If you love something for yourself, then the easiest that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says out of these 7 is that you love for him what you love for yourself. The second of those rights is that you go out of your way. Out of your way. And each of these will go progressively harder. I have noted them down in the exact order that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam said them. And so if he started off the first one with the easiest, this one's going to be a little bit harder. If you love for your brother what you love for yourself, then here is what is harder. That you go out of your way to avoid his wrath and actively pursue what will please him, and that you obey his command. Now here we need to dissect this language a little bit. Not everybody commands another person, right? But when you do receive a command, for example, if someone is in dire need, that they are giving you something that we call in Arabic fi'al amr, a commanding verb. Don't do this. You follow it. So for example, let's say someone can't take it anymore, that you are just freely talking to women. So he says, don't talk to my mother, don't talk to my sister, okay? That you have to observe some boundaries. Let's say, for example, he says, hey, don't talk to my boss, okay? Now is not the time, I can't give you a recommendation for this job. And then you still go behind his back and do it. When a fellow Muslim brother, or for the sisters, when your fellow Muslim sister commands you, not just requests you, commands you, one of the rights to fulfill. This isn't something that it becomes, Imam al-Sadiq does say it's wajib, but this isn't something that, we can go and compare to salah. So it's not exactly at that level, but you still have to take it seriously. That when your Muslim brother or sister commands you, it's going to be rare, you obey, according to Imam al-Sadiq. And you go out of your way to avoid his wrath, meaning if you know that something angers him, why are you still going down that path knowing that this discussion will lead to it? When you know that something will please him, you don't go and do that. Meaning, you know, for example, that your Muslim boss likes it when you bring bagels in on Friday. A silly example, but you know that you could do this, but you still don't do it. If you're a sensible employee and you want a promotion, you want some, future at this company, wouldn't you go and do that? Now think about your fellow Muslim who agrees with you at least on 2 shahadatain. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. rights is that you, what is it? Number one, that you love for him what you love for yourself. The second one is that you go out of your way to avoid his wrath and pursue what he pleases. And what was the third part of the second right? That you obey his command. Now we go to one step harder. And at any point, if any of these start to seem too hard, again, like I said, the door is right there. If this starts to become too hard for you, better that you don't know than you do know and you don't act. Number 3 is that you serve him. You become a khadim for him. You become like a servant for him. Not a slave, where at any hour of the day, but at least like how in Urdu what we would call a nokar. Someone who you would go and put around your house to go and just do the dishes, do the laundry, right? Go and lower your ego for your fellow Muslim and say to him, okay, hey, is there anything that I can do for you? Can I get you something? Can I get you some water? Can I get you some food? Can I, anything? Please, I would love to help you. Interestingly, you find that our teachers, our ulama, the sayyids, they will do this for us when we should be doing it for them. And this is something that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that we should be doing for all of our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. Now, of course, when I say brothers and sisters, it's not that the brother goes to the sister and says, and starts talking unnecessarily, right? This is sisters for sisters and brothers for brothers, just so we're clear. That you help him and you serve him through yourself, through your money. What does that mean by your money? When you serve him with your money. It means that if you know that he needs equipment, he's in a rush, he's going to go be planning some kind of an event, whether it's for Ahl Bayt or it's his personal thing, but you know that he needs help. Maybe he's moving from one house to another. Go and help him a little bit with your money. Go and get the rental truck. It's just $20 from you all or whatever it is, right? Go and help him out a little bit. Why? Because now, what is that going to get you in currency? In the currency of love from your Muslim brother. That, wow, you did this for me? Who does this? And this will then go and inspire non-Muslims that, wow, look at the brotherhood amongst the Muslims. And it will inspire them that if I also become a Muslim, I can expect this type of treatment. This is the exact opposite of cancel culture, where your comments, your remarks, your attitudes drive people away from Islam. Now, these types of actions, if they are done properly, then this is exactly what Imam Sadiq and Fatimah al-Zahra salawatullah wa salamu alayhima said when they said, bring people to us biduni alsinatikum, without your tongues, but rather through your actions. This is how, brothers and sisters. Through yourself, through your money, through your tongue. How do you serve someone, your Muslim brother, with your tongue? First of all, by having husn al-dhann about them, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Second of all, if you know that you can give a recommendation to them, do it. If you can give a recommendation, whether that's for marriage, whether that's at a mosque, whether that's at a job, whether that's whatever it is, you know, someone is looking for a contractor and you know that this contractor does a good job and he's your fellow Muslim. Someone else also does a good job. Maybe they're equal, but who do you give preference to? Well, you are at the service of your Muslim brother. So by your tongue as well. And then what does Imam Sadiq say? He says, and also through your hands and your feet. Meaning through your hands, physically, if there's anything that you can do, if you know that he's moving, help him lift things. With your feet, go and be there for him. Don't just go and give a call at the end of the day and ask him how he's doing, if he needs any help. Try to be there in person for him. This earns you what we call today brownie points. This endears you to them. This makes you invaluable to them. These brothers and sisters are power plays. These are secrets. These are gems that your Imam is telling you. Why does Allah make it wajib for you to do this once you know it? Why? Because then you become indestructible. You become undefeated. You have the hearts and minds of people. They don't want to go against you. They want to save you from reaching destruction. The fourth of those rights is that you act as his eye, his guide, and his mirror. Let's dissect each of these words. What does that mean when you act as this fellow brother's, in Islam's, eye? It means that if you see something and you know that this could be harmful to him, you go and do what his eye would do. You go and tell him so that he's aware. If you see some reason that the manager is not happy with him and you see that he's on a trajectory to get fired, and he's a Muslim brother of yours, then what's your duty? Especially if you go and combine it with guide, which is what we're about to come to, right? Eye and guide together. You go and advise him, say that, look, you need to go and do a little bit of course correction over here. You need to stop, for example, coming in late every day. Work starts at 8 o'clock, for example. Stop coming in at 3 p.m. Stop coming in at, okay, 3 p.m. is not a viable example. Let's stop coming in at 10, right? Some people after COVID, it's become too easy for them to just roll into the office whatever time they want, thinking that this is my house. Office is office. You have to go and show up at the time that the company expects you to. And then it's you, fellow brothers and sisters, for you to come and advise him and be his eye. If you see that the manager is not taking this well, then it's your job to go and advise him. If he is taking it well, then okay, then no problem. But if he himself could see those types of reactions, wouldn't he change? So now it's your duty to see something that if he had seen it, he would have acted. Another example, if you see suspicious activity near his house, he's not at home, he's on vacation, advise him. Guide him towards whatever security system that you have around your house. Be a guide for him. This is amongst the wajibat of the rights towards your fellow Muslim. And then finally we come to a mirror. If you see something in him that you do not like, how do you go and point it out to him? Well, when you look in a mirror, how do you find out yourself? The mirror silently tells you by showing the same thing in reverse. Meaning you need to kind of be tactful and show them in a respectful manner as if it's themselves, and show them that, look, this is hurting people, or this is something that, are you sure you want to be seen as this kind of a person? You act as a mirror towards them. This is the fourth of how many rights, brothers and sisters? 7. There's only 3 more left, and it's going to get tougher. The 5th of these rights for your fellow Muslim is that you are not full while he is hungry, and that you are quenched while he is thirsty, or that you are clothed while he is naked. Meaning, if you have resources, why are you eating until you are full? The fact that you could eat until you are full means that you had enough food that if you had divided it in half, he could have been the same level as you, and you could have been the same level as him. Where now both of you are at least waiting until your next meal. If you are clothed, and he is not clothed, or he is thirsty and you're not thirsty, you are supposed to go out of your way, remember, to serve him. This means that you are even selfless, where you don't go and take the food yourself, or the drink yourself, or the clothing yourself, if you know that they are in need. Let me touch a little bit, because the food and the drink is a little bit easy to digest, right? Okay, I can at least imagine what that looks like. What about clothing? You see, brothers and sisters, when you donate clothes, let's say you go to Ziyara, you go to Karbala, and you have clothes that you want to go and donate to the orphans. Maybe you want to go to Najaf. Maybe you want to go to even to your home country, Pakistan, India, wherever. Maybe you want to go and donate to the Yemenis. What kind of clothes do you give? Do you give the clothes that your kids no longer wear, while you go and buy new, never worn, fresh off the rack, perfect for their size clothes? Or do you keep your kids with the same clothes that they've been wearing and buy new clothes and then donate those new clothes? Because I'll tell you right now, I've spoken to some of the khadims who help out, and I've asked them sometimes to go and take me to some of these orphans. You know what their reaction is if you give them old, ripped, tattered, smelly, stained clothes? Thanks, but what kind of clothes are these? Would you want to wear these? You, a person of dignity, would you want to go and wear something that, the shoulder is completely ripped? This small little orphan, he knows how to sew. He knows, he has access to a sewing machine. MashaAllah. I didn't know Iraq and Karbala was doing so well. But that's the implicit message that we're sending when we're sending these kinds of clothes, right? What do you think they are? They're tailors? Why don't you just go and send them a spool of thread and some needles, and then they'll go and just make the clothes themselves? Buy them what you would buy for yourself. Feed them what you would feed for yourself. Quench them with what you would quench for yourself. Meaning, if you have the money and you're going and buying alkaline water with pH this, why are you giving them access to diseased water? You think you're doing anybody a favor? You think this person is going to be a shafi'ah for you on Yawm al-Qiyamah? That, oh wow, yeah, this person gave you water, but what kind of water was it? It gave me cholera. The fifth of the rights, brothers and sisters, just to reiterate before we go to our final two of the rights, is that you are not full while he is hungry. You are not quenched while he is thirsty. And you are not clothed while he is naked. The sixth of these difficult rights, that, let me remind you, one of these, if they are missing, takes you out of the wilayah of Allah. It'll make it harder for you to obey Allah. Ask yourselves, brothers and sisters, have you ever found it a little bit difficult to come closer towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have you ever found it like, why is it that no matter what I try, I cannot come closer? I cannot do this. Praying 5 times a day for some of us might be easy. For someone else, it's a difficult task. And you might have been at one stage in your life where praying 5 times a day was easy. And then you come to another stage and you're like, this used to be very easy for me. Why am I in such a position of difficulty? Understand, brothers and sisters, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it more difficult for you to obey Him if you are negligent in any one of these 7. The sixth of these rights, and this is difficult. This is very, very difficult. When I went and read this during my preparation to some of the brothers and sisters, I didn't think that having a servant in the house was as common as it was in our parents' generations. Like in Pakistan and India, it's common to find people who come and wash the clothes, do the dishes, get your kids ready for school. That's common in Pakistan and India. That's common in some of the countries that we call back home. I didn't know it was common even over here in the United States, in Canada, and the UK, and Australia, these first world countries. The sixth of these rights is that if you have a servant and your fellow Muslim brother does not have a servant, it is wajib to send your servant so that he washes their clothes, cooks their food, and makes their bed. This is a direct translation from the Arabic of what Imam Sadiq said. It's wajib if you have a servant. If you have the money that Allah has blessed you, that you are now at such a position where you can hire someone to go and clean your house, cook your food, make your kids' beds, go and do the shopping for you, go and do the grocery shopping for you. There might be some people over here who are entrepreneurially minded, who might have read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. In the 4-Hour Work Week, he instructs how to get virtual assistants, people who are doing the menial jobs of your task. They're replying to your emails. They're attending the meetings for you. They're doing all of this so that you have more time to go and work on your business. And for you, it's pennies, but in Taiwan or Thailand or whatever, it's very cheap labor and it's very affordable. If you know that someone, your fellow Muslim brother, is struggling, they're working 6 days a week as a taxi cab driver, and on the 7th day, he's passed out on the couch, and his kids are using him as a trampoline and saying, Baba, Baba, come and play with us. While you are going from one vacation to another, and where is the justice over here? This is one of the rights that if you have a servant, at least go and ask. Maybe they don't want the help. Maybe they love doing the manual labor. But remember, Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima al-Zahra sallallahu alayhi were once in such a dire position where when they got married, they could not afford a house. They could not afford furniture. They could not afford plates and spoons and forks. They could not afford help around the house. Imam Ali alayhi salam had 3 things in this world. He had a sword, a shield, and his horse. He lives in the same house as Rasulullah. Rasulullah raised him, right? So that when the time for the dowry comes, Fatima al-Zahra asks him, what can you give? He says, I only have a sword, a shield, and my horse. She says, no, the horse you need to defend Islam. The sword you need to defend Islam. The shield, what does Ali ibn Talib need with a shield? You can go and sell that. So he sells it, he gets 400 or 500 dirhams, and he gives that as the dowry to Fatima Zahra. There was a time when they could not afford these things, and the collective Muslim community pitched in. One companion gave one of his properties so that this would be the house. One companion, so that it would be close to Rasulullah as well, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One furnished the bed. One furnished the table and chairs. One gave the silverware, for example. One gave, for example, the clothing. One gave some money to them, or a job reference for Imam Ali alayhi salam. All of these things were a community building thing. Therefore, when we see that Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima al-Zahra have a servant in their house, don't think that they had enough money to go and be able to hire the likes of Qambar or Bibi Fidda. They didn't have that kind of money initially. Fine, eventually Imam Ali alayhi salam, he was able to make some money. But this is not something that he started off with. How does Fatima al-Zahra have the help of a servant to go and help her wash the clothes, wash the dishes, make the bread, all of these kinds of things that she does around the house? Because someone of their Muslim brothers gave a servant. This is the 6th of the rights. That if you have a servant in your house and your brother does not, you also have to go and send that person. Which brings us to our 7th right. The 7th of the rights, and this is the hardest of them, is that when he makes an oath, and he's unable to fulfill it, you try your best that you fulfill his oath. If he has an invitation that he has given to you, you reply to his invitation. It's one of the haqq of a mu'min that if he gives you an invitation, that you respond to his invitation, that you at least come. You don't just go and ignore. You don't go and say for no reason, no. Right? This is how. You go over to people's houses. You go and eat their food. You laugh, you converse, you exchange stories. When he has someone sick in his family, Imam al-Sadiq says, you go visit his sick. You have to go and take some time out of your work day, or when you're finally free from work, that if your fellow Muslim brother has someone sick in the hospital, you go to visit. And that when he has a janazah, you attend his janazahs. That way the Muslim community, more people show up to the janazahs. That way more people are present at this mu'min's janazah, or this Muslim's janazah. Unlike what we saw, sadly, with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, sallu alayhi wa when he is being buried, how many people are still there for his funeral? And how many have run to Saqifa or not even showed up at all? 6 people, brothers and sisters. This is how many people were there for the funeral of the greatest creation of mankind, Rasulullah. 6 people. You would think that with so many people who are Muslim at the time, by the time he dies, the entire Arabian Peninsula would be there. You would think that this is a Guinness World Record, that the most amount of people came for our Prophet. MashaAllah, this is something that we pride ourselves in. But for the first time in history, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands came so that they could take part in this sad moment when their Prophet, the final messenger of God, had passed away. Instead, you find 6. The right that Rasulullah had over these people is much more than our fellow Muslims have over us. And yet, where were those people who had this right that Rasulullah had over them? Where were they? We see from Imam Ali alayhi salam that there is a hadith from Ghurar al-Hikam where he says that if you see the signs of begging on the face of your fellow believing brother, do not humiliate him a second time by making him ask. Meaning, if someone asks you, if you had to wait until someone asks you for charity, you've already done a form of dhulm. Because the Quran even will come and say, تَعْرِفُ بِسِيمَاهُمْ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ, that you will be able to see by the expressions on their face. There are some facial expressions, brothers and sisters, of heaviness, of a person who has lost their source of income and now they need a job. Why are you waiting for them to come up to you and ask for a job when you know he needs a job and you know that you can easily ask for a position to be created at a company that you work at or at a company where you know someone really well? Why are you waiting until he has to go and humiliate himself and he has to go and ask you in words? There are signs, brothers and sisters, and Imam Ali alayhi salam wants us to be so conscious, so sharp, that we are able to go and tell these signs, like how Sherlock Holmes figures out cases. That, oh, he's wearing this kind of watch. He's been wearing the same kind of clothes day in and day out. He only has this one jacket. He doesn't have multiple jackets. It's been, a while since we've seen him in Salat al-Jum'ah, or it's been a while since, why? Because he might be feeling depressed because he doesn't have a job anymore. Right? For example. So we see that the Imam finishes off that hadith. Imam Sadiq says, if you know he has a need, you are the one who rushes to fulfill it. You don't wait for someone else to take the opportunity and get the barakah of having served your fellow Muslim brother. You want to be the one who says, I was there for you, I'm here for you, it's okay, what do you need from me? And you do not make him ask you, you are the one to initiate it, like Imam Ali alayhi salam said in the hadith I just mentioned. These are the rights, brothers and sisters, that if we are negligent of even one of them, we are kicked out of the wilayah of Allah. We are not able to obey Allah as much as we once were able to, or we hope we could. And we shouldn't expect anything from Allah when it comes to Akhirah. Come to the plains of Karbala and look at someone who was so loyal to his brother, especially when you look at the 5th right. I'll read it to you again. The 5th of the rights is that you are not full while he is hungry, or that you are quenched while he is thirsty, or that you are clothed while he is naked. There was a gap, brothers and sisters, between the shahada of Fatima Zahra Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen and the marriage of another Fatima. This Fatima, Imam Ali alayhi salam, came to his brother Aqil and said, I need to find a woman from a good family tree, someone who are known to produce strong sons. He says, okay, give me some time. I'll do some research into the family trees. We'll see what we can find. He brings Imam Ali alayhi salam the name of a certain chieftain. He says his daughter is not only very beautiful, but they have a consistent record of having great battle warriors. He says, let's do it. Let's go and send the proposal. Aqil comes to the tribe leader. And for those of you who are from Iraq, you know that the tribal leader is sometimes a little bit culturally minded, and they're a little bit hard to talk to. But when he sees the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he immediately stands up to greet him. And he says, what is the occasion that we see you today, Aqil? He says, I come with a marriage proposal for your daughter. He says, from who? He says, from Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Immediately the chieftain is happy. He says, for my daughter, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the successor of Rasulullah, it's a yes from me. Aqil says, but we, Banu Hashim, we do not accept until the girl herself says yes. We saw this with Fatima Zahra as well, yes? When she was young. He says, get the okay from her. He goes and he is so happy. He goes to the mother of this daughter and she's intrigued that our chief, my husband, never has this kind of emotion. He is always reserved. He has this haiba to him. He says, what are you doing? Why are you displaying your emotions so proudly and so visibly? He says, we have received a beautiful proposal from Ali ibn Abi Talib for our daughter. She says, did you say yes? Says, I said yes, but Banu Hashim do not accept like this. They need our daughter's approval first. When they go to this girl, Fatima, she says, I had a dream last night where I was in my dream and I saw, the narration says, a wedding dress. And then a woman in black comes and introduces herself saying, I am Fatima to Zahra. Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. She says to Fatima that when the marriage proposal comes for you tomorrow, accept it. And wear this wedding dress, you will find it. Brothers and sisters, if it's possible, this is the tradition of the Imams. Let's dim the lights, because when the Imams were alive, we saw this tradition where they would dim the lights. Why? Why is there a tradition amongst the lovers of Ahlul Bayt to dim the lights? And also, if we could dim the lights from the other side as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The reason why we dim lights, for those of you who are curious, for those of you who do not know, is because the Imams did not want us, for those of us who cannot cry. Even though Rasulullah ﷺ has said that even the one who pretends to cry is given the same reward as the one who cries for real. Therefore, when we are in our majalis, it is of the etiquette of the majlis to put your head down, to go and mourn, even if you are not at that level of iman where you can cry. It's fine. Pretend that you are crying. Make the noises that you can to emulate that you are crying, to show Rasulullah. When the time of the marriage comes, this Fatima comes into the house of Fatima to Zahra and comes into the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. And on her wedding night, she is called by Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Fatima. She sees the tears forming, happy that their father has found a bride, but sad to hear the name of their mother, Fatima to Zahra. And she requests Imam Ali that on my wedding night, please give me this request, that you do not call me Fatima anymore, give me a different name. And from that moment on, brothers and sisters, this Fatima became known as Ummul Baneen. al-Banin gave Imam Ali alayhi salam four total beautiful, healthy sons. One by one, when we came to the 10th of Muharram, each one of them was sacrificed in the way of Abu Abdullah. But Imam Ali alayhi salam had many, many sons. And al-Banin had noticed her Mawla even before marriage, and when she did get married, that when each boy and each girl was born, Amir al-Mu'mineen would kiss the baby on their forehead. But that changed when it came to Abu Fadl al-Abbas. When Amir al-Mu'mineen picked up this beautiful baby swaddled in white clothing, he took out the arms, the right arm and the left arm of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, and he kissed both of them. al-Banin was a little bit depressed, and she said, Amir al-Mu'mineen, is the reason that you kiss my boy's hands because he is born from a slave woman and not from the noble women of the Hashemites? When you kiss your other sons and your daughters, I have noticed that you kiss them on their forehead. He immediately comes to her and says, no, al-Banin, that's not the case that I'm kissing his right hand and his left hand. Rather, Ya al-Banin, the reason why I kiss his right hand and his left hand is because he will be such a devout supporter of Abi Abdullah that when he is in his defense, he will lose his right hand and he will lose his left hand. And so I am honoring these right and left hands, which will one day become replaced with wings in Jannah, just like my brother Ja'far al-Tayyar. Now al-Banin is really crying. She notices that this does not happen with any of her other sons, and so she starts to train Abbas differently from the other brothers of Abbas. Even though she raises them all to say, these, although they are your brothers, Al-Hasan wal-Hussein, you will never ever call them Khuya or Akhi. You will always call them Sayyidi Abu Abdullah. You will always call them my Imam, my Mawla, my master. Because you are their servant, they are the sons of Muhammad, and you are the sons of Ali. There is a difference between the sons of Muhammad and the sons of Ali. And you see this utmost respect from Abu Fadl Abbas and his three brothers, and not only towards his mother, but especially towards the Imams of his times, Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein. We fast forward now to the Battle of Siffin, where we see Abu Sha'fa, who's standing next to Muawiyah. And Muawiyah is seeing that Amir al-Mu'mineen has sent a young boy out to the plains of Siffin. And this is a proud moment for Amir al-Mu'mineen because one of his sons was sent out in Jamal, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. And over there he had to send one of his Imami sons, the sons of Fatima Zahra and Rasulullah, Imam al-Hasan, to go and make up for what Muhammad ibn Hanafiya couldn't do, which was taking down the camel that was the cause of the fitna. Now he has a true lion, Abu Fadl al-Abbas, and he sends him into his debut. He gives him a niqab so that his face is hidden. Muawiyah sees with Abu Sha'fa, he says, this is someone that Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali is sending out himself. I want you to go and battle him. He says, are you trying to insult me? I am a hero amongst the Arabs. I have killed hundreds, if not thousands, of Arab warriors and heroes. How dare you go and send me against this boy who is no more than 15 years old? I will send one of my sons, and I have 7 sons. He sends the youngest brothers and sisters into Siffin. And Abu Fadl Abbas, with one strike, sends him to Jahannam. He goes and sends his second youngest, sends him to Jahannam. Sends the third youngest to Jahannam. He sends the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. All of them are killed with one blow from this mighty warrior, Abu Fadl Abbas. Abu Sha'fa is now bewildered. How could this young boy have killed 7 in a row? All of these are heroes, personally trained from me. Muawiyah is like, now will you take my request and go and finally finish off This warrior that Ali has sent out, he says, this beautiful boy, I can see from his eyes, he hasn't shown his face. But go and bring me his head. Go kill him. Abu Sha'fa now goes out into the battlefield, and with a few here and there strikes, he ends up killing him as well. Muawiyah then goes and shouts out, this is the style of Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is a second Ali ibn Abi Talib. Show your face. Imam Ali rides down and he goes and takes the niqab off. And he says, I am Ali. My son, introduce yourself. He says, I am Qamar Banu Hashim. He says, no wonder that we couldn't fight him. And this is the caliber of Banu Hashim's fighting. No doubt. No wonder. Abu Fadl Abbas now goes and asks his father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, can I go again into the war? Do you want me to go in again? He says, no, my son, I'm saving you for a different day when Abu Abdullah will need you. I don't need you anymore. I have many soldiers, alhamdulillah, right now. How those people went and turned on Amir al-Mu'mineen. This Abu Fadl Abbas was there when those same Khawarij plunged a poisoned dagger on the 19th of Ramadan into his blessed father's head. Later, when his brother, his Imam al-Hassan, is killed by his wife, he is at the janazah with his brother, Imam al-Hussein, and he is there with his sword ready to be unsheathed, but his new Imam, his master Hussein, is telling him, not yet. Arrows are being fired on him on that day too. And he is enraged. How dare you attack my Imam, Imam al-Hassan? We are more worthy towards Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi than you are. How dare you attack us and not let the son of Zahra go towards his grandfather? Shame on you. This is what Abu Fadl Abbas had to go through when his brother Imam al-Hassan was being killed. Now let's fast forward 10 years to the plains of Karbala, and on the morning of Ashura, where Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas keeps on petitioning Imam al-Hussein time and time again, brother, send me to the battle, let me eliminate these armies. When Ali al-Akbar had given the adhan for Salat al-Fajr, Abu Fadl al-Abbas did some reconnaissance and he went and figured out what are these people who are not even waking up for Fajr, what are their numbers like. He comes back and tells Ali al-Akbar, Ali, let's do one thing. Let's divide up this army. I will take half of the army and I will finish them off. You take 1/4 of the army on the right side, and we'll leave the middle flank for the ashab of Imam al-Hussein. But let's do one thing, Ali al-Akbar. Let's do one thing. I'll come quickly after I finish my half. You just fend off the 1/4 and I'll come and help you, and then we'll fight side by side and we'll kill the 1/4. And then we'll go both together and we'll kill the rest of the army with ashab al-Hussein. This is what he had requested. But did his Mawla give him the ijazah? No, Ya Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Hussein. No, he did not. He did not give him the ijazah. He keeps on asking Abu Abdullah, let me go into the battlefield and finish them. When the companions are going, he's watching them one by one, body after body. A brave companion, ulama after ulama, is coming back in a body bag. He's coming back completely dismembered, and he's saying to Abu Abdullah, please let me finish off the situation, let me go, so that your family doesn't have to go. But now Banu Hashim is going out, and the body of Ali al-Akbar is coming back, and now Qasim is coming back. All of the family members are gone. There is no one left with my Gharib Imam al-Hussein except for Abu Fadl al-Abbas and one small infant. Abu Fadl Abbas keeps on getting the same response from Imam al-Hussein, saying, you are my flag bearer. You are the Hamil al-Liwa'i. You are the flag bearer of my army. What will become of me after I lose you, Ya Abbas? Says, no, it won't be like that. My Imam, let me go, I will take care of them. I will go and finish them. Just let me do it. He says, no, Ya Abu Fadl Abbas. He goes back to his tent, but on the way, he sees one 6-year-old girl who has a water canteen and she's rattling it. And she's pushing the lips of this bottle against her lips so that she feels some of the coolness. This girl's name is Sakina bint al-Hussein. He cannot bear her thirst. She's crying out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. The drought of Karbala is getting to me. Oh, my uncle Abbas, is there anything in your canteen of water? Can you give me anything? He says, no, Ya Sakina, but there's one thing you can do. Go to your father and ask for ijazah so that I can go and get you water at least. She says, really, Ya Amma? Really? If I go and ask my father, he'll let you do this? He says, go. He won't reject you, Sakina. She goes to her father, Aba Abdullah, and she asks, Ya Abata, please can my uncle Abbas go and get us some water from the Furat? The atash of Karbala is killing me. Brothers and sisters, you already know that whatever saliva Imam al-Hussein could generate in his mouth, he already gave to his eldest, Ali al-Akbar. There isn't even saliva that Abbas and Imam al-Hussein can give to Sakina. She is dying of thirst. Their lips are cracked. They are bleeding. Abbas cannot take it, and so he sends this small child. Imam al-Hussein asks Sakina, what have you done? I cannot say no to you. Are you sure you want this? You are saying something that I cannot refuse. When you ask me, Sakina, I cannot refuse. She says, please, Baba, I need the water. Even if not for me, my younger brother, Asghar, needs the water. He calls Abbas and says, Abbas, your wish, your haja is fulfilled. You are not allowed to fight, except in defense. But go and get some water. Abu al-Fadl Abbas goes and faces the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad that is guarding the water. Umar ibn Sa'ad, brothers and sisters, had 4,000 men to just make sure that Imam al-Hussein's men did not get the taste of water. On the 7th of Muharram, we saw that after the water had been taken towards the Bani Umayyah, still Abbas led the companions in a spearheaded effort and he was able to get them water. But eventually the deserts of Karbala made them finish all of the water. Now the family is thirsty again. It's the same Abbas, but now he doesn't have anybody else. Now it is the time of war. They have already started the war. There is no more allowance for... But still they remember Abbas. Those who know Abbas from Siffin tell those who weren't there at Siffin. The new enemies of Ahlul Bayt find out from the old that this is Qamar Bani Hashim. He does not leave anybody left. He kills them all. And so they disperse and they go and give him a track towards the water. And Abu al-Fadl Abbas makes his way with his horse towards the water. And he steps into this cold, cool water. And the enemies of Allah see him dip his hands into the water. I'm going to recite it slow so that you can be there with Abu Fadl Abbas. Just take your time. Cry as much as you want. There is no shimmer today that will slap you like there was to slap Sakina. We read that there was a second mother, not just Ramla, who went and complained for Qasim to Abu Abdullah that my son wants to fight for you. There was a second mother who cried on Sham Ghariba. And she came to Imam Zain al-Abidin. She said, her name is Rabab, why is my daughter's hair coming out in the ghusl? Imam Zain al-Abidin found out from Allah that Shimmer was pulling her hair so much and the slap was so hard. And he also finds out from Allah that the first thing that Ruqayya went and said to the head of her blessed father is, "Forgive me, father, if I stutter." But the slap of Shimr was so hard. My mouth is still swollen, I cannot feel anything. Abbas is pouring the water into his hand, and then the enemies of Allah see him drop the water back into the Furat. And they don't know why until he recites the lines of poetry. Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Husayn huni wa min ba'dahu ma anti an takuni hadha Husaynun وارد المنون وتشربي بارد المعين والله ما هذا فعال ديني ولا فعال صادق اليقين. Oh, my nafs, who has always come after my master Hussein, you are trying to go and drink the cold water of the Furat before your master Hussein. Your Hussein is still thirsty, but you will drink. Never, wallah. This is not the fi'al, this is not the actions of my religion, this is not the teachings of my father, this is not how Baneen has raised me. And so he fills up the water, and he makes his way to his horse and starts riding. Umar ibn Sa'ad, la'natullahi alayh, then calls out, "Surround him, because if he finds his way to the camp of Hussein, there will be no way that you can survive. They will be too strong. They will finish you off. Surround him and make sure that the water does not reach them." And so now they start to slowly go and pull their arrows back and launch it towards Abu Fadl Abbas. One of the enemies takes his opportunity to climb up a palm tree. When Abu Fadl al-Abbas passes by the palm tree, he raises his sword, Ya Shia, and strikes and chops off the arm of the right hand of Abbas. The right hand of Abbas lies on the floor of Karbala. Abbas then turns his horse around so that he can pick up the fallen sword with his left hand. And as he comes back towards his ride towards the camp of Imam al-Hussein, he starts to recite the poetic lines. Wallahi in qata'tum yamini inni uhami abadan an dini wa an imamin صادق اليقين سبط النبي المصطفى الأمين. Wallahi, if they even cut off my right hand, that will not defer me from being truthful to my religion, from being truthful towards my Imam, the grandson of a pure and chosen prophet. At this time, while he is getting his sword from his right hand and transferring it to the left hand, he is also slinging the water pouch onto his shoulder. At this time, another one of the enemies of Abu Fadl Abbas was climbing up another palm tree, and they struck and chopped off the left hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. And he recites the lines. يا نفس لا تخشى من الكفار وأبشري برحمة الجبار قد قطعوا ببغيهم يساري فصلهم يا رب حار النار. Oh my soul, oh my nafs, oh my entire being, do not let this go and deter you from being afraid of the kuffar. Instead, become congratulated with the rahmah of the Jabbar. They have cut off my left hand out of their hard-heartedness. Oh, my master, soften them up with the hellfire's torture. Abu Fadl al-Abbas still has the spirit. He's still trying to march towards the camp of Imam al-Hussein. This is still his goal. He still has to get the water towards Sakina, towards Asghar. He's still riding. He can still make it. At this point, they all start firing their arrows at him. One of the enemies of Allah, known as Harmala bint Kahil, tells Mukhtar al-Thaqafi that 3 still pain me till this day. 3 of the arrows that I fired. One of the 3-headed arrows that I usually use to slaughter camels went into the mouth of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, and it knocked him off of his horse. The second of the arrows went into the neck of a 6-month-old infant. And the third of these arrows went into the eye of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. Another few arrows went into his chest, but one of them went and pierced the water pouch. And now this is when the pain came to Abbas. How will I go back to Sakina with an empty water pouch? How will I go and face my Imam with no water? This was the only thing that he expected from me. How am I supposed to face him with no water? Narrations say that he turned his head towards the skies and he started to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, Ya Allah, my only haja is that you get this water somehow towards Sakina. The poet says now that the reply came from the heavens saying, this is not our irada. The irada is not to get water to the camp of Hussein. But because of this, you have become Mujarrab al-Dua, you have now become Bab al-Hawaj. Anything that you ask from me on behalf of the others will always be accepted. He says then, Ya Allah, my first wish is this. Never let my body come back to the camp of Hussein. How are they supposed to see me without a right hand, Ya Allah? How are they supposed to see me without a left hand and with an arrow in my eye? At this moment, another enemy of Allah throws a spear into the back of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. And now he's coughing out blood. He's in pain. Until finally, the final enemy of Allah deals him a blow with a metal heavy crowbar and he smashes his head, Ya Shia. Now Abu al-Fadl Abbas looks like his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, with a split head. The blood is coming out from his head and it's clouding his eyes. So that when he is laying there, he hears footsteps and he says, man, whoever you are, have khawf of Allah. All I ask from you is one wish. Let my brother Abu Abdullah come and see me. I want to do his ziyarah one last time. The man tells him, Abbas, I am your brother, Abu Abdullah. Come into my lap, my brother. And for the first time, Abu Fadl Abbas answered the wish of Imam al-Hussein and said, Khoya Imam al-Hussein, adrikni. All of what I have recited is not the true musibah of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. No, there's a special request from Abbas that came to one of the seminary teachers, one of the maraja. He recited all of what I have recited to you, brothers and sisters, but he saw a dream from Abu Fadl Abbas. And he says, why don't you recite my most heartbreaking of tragedies? He lists all of the tragedies for Abu Fadl Abbas. He says, I know what you recite, but these are not my true tragedy. He says, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Qamar Bani Hashim, tell me yourself. He says, that my mother Fatima Zahra was looking at me from the Alim al-Ghayb, and she says that when a rider usually falls off their horse after they're hit with a metal crowbar that smashes open their head, and they fall to the floor and they are calling the brother, what does a rider usually use to break his fall? What was I supposed to catch the ground with when I have no right hand and I have no left hand? I caught it with the arrow stuck in my heart. Imam al-Hussein carries him in his lap, and Abu al-Fadl Abbas, the historians tell us, keeps on trying to take his head off of the blessed lap of Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein eventually asks him, brother, why do you keep on doing this? Look at the response of Abu Fadl Abbas towards Abu Abdullah. He says, right now, my head is in your lap, Ya Abu Abdullah. There is no one left to defend you. There's no one who will have your head in their lap. Who will have your head, Ya Abu Abdullah, in their lap? He says, come, we took everybody back towards the camp. Ali al-Akbar, we took all of the companions, we took Ali al-Akbar, we took Al-Qasim. You too, let us bring you back. At this time, he finds out the divine will that no, Abu Fadl Abbas will stay here by the Furat. This was Abu Fadl Abbas's will. Allah has accepted it already. Imam al-Hussein walks back and he says, Al-an inkasara dhahri. My back has now been broken. He walks back towards the camp and he is filled with tears in his beard. And the first one who was waiting for him, because he only went to go and get water, he did not get to say his farewells to everybody. The one who was waiting for him, the one who was waiting for the water, who didn't expect that she would even need to say goodbye, is one lady by the name of Zainab. And she says, Ya Abu Abdullah, where is Abbas? Where is my brother? He says, Abbas is still there by the Furat. I left him there with no right hand, no left hand, an arrow in his eye. منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, in the dua. This is the night of the Hawa'ij. This is the night of Bab al-Hawa'ij. If it's not going to be accepted tonight, when will it be accepted? Think of your sick ones. Think of your family. Think of the people who are sitting waiting for your du'as in the graves. Everybody is in need of your du'as tonight, brothers and sisters. Therefore, there should be no one who is not saying it with me. Recite the blessed ayah with me 5 times. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أما يجيب everybody together. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. Louder. يجيب المضطر إذا دعا. أما يجيب اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك الأعز الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم 10 times. يا الله 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 يا الله. اللهم بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا السوء يا الله. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا كفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار مع محمد وآله الأطهار ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والجالسين والمحاضرات. نقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.